Hello, I am Peter Okwacha. Welcome to Focus on Africa. Our top stories. The death toll in Cyclone Idai rises and there are fears it could treble in the coming days. Nearly 250 people have been killed in Mozambique and survivors find themselves in desperate conditions.
Supplies are running low and that has pushed up food prices drastically. Bread now costs twice as much. It's another challenge for a people who've been battered by nature.
Meanwhile, in Zimbabwe, almost 140 people have died and hundreds of thousands are in need of urgent help. Also on the program, money talks. Ghana's finance minister tells Focus on Africa the cost of living is coming down and things are looking up. But does everyone else in the country agree?
Cost of going to school is down. We're putting together a mortgage scheme to support housing. So it's actually quite remarkable where we have come from since January.
And in sports, former Kenyan world and Olympic 1500-meter champion Asbel Kiprop appears at his court tribunal hearing. Thanks for joining us here on Focus on Africa from BBC World News. Almost a week after tropical cyclone Idai swept across southern Africa, rescue teams are still desperately trying to reach survivors. In Mozambique, the cyclone submerged an estimated 3,000 square kilometers. Entire towns are underwater. Correspondents on the ground have described it as looking like an inland sea. Tens of thousands of people are still waiting to be rescued. At least 300 people have lost their lives across Mozambique, Zimbabwe and Malawi. Authorities say the death toll could treble over the coming days. Well, joining me now live with the latest from Maputo in Mozambique is our senior Africa correspondent, Anne Soy. Anne.
Peter, as you say, this has been described as one of the worst natural disasters to ever hit the southern hemisphere. A huge humanitarian effort is underway. Behind me, there are volunteers who have been working hard, tirelessly, to repackage donations that have been coming here, donated by Mozambicans, to be transported to people who need it. Now, around this time last week, Cyclone Idai was building up towards the coast of Mozambique. The death and destruction that it left is still getting revealed by the day. Today, we understand that aerial assessments have revealed that entire villages were wiped out. The government of Mozambique says 240 people now can be confirmed to have died. But as you said, that number could go up dramatically. Now, the government here says that 30% of disaster relief facilities in the country have no food. The World Food Programme estimates that at least 400,000 people have been driven from their homes. My colleague Pumza Fiklani is in Beira, from where she reports.
There were once people's homes here. Now everything has been overwhelmed by water. It's in the stadiums that people have sought refuge, safety in numbers. And with good reason. Hundreds have died already, trapped in villages too remote to get to on time. In this village, just one tent, a promise of shelter for those who have lost everything, if they can make it here. Aid workers are racing against time. Tens of thousands of people are still missing across the flooded interior. It has taken courage and persistence, but in small doses, a glimmer of hope. And in this city centre, the cleanup work has begun, but much of the city remains cut off.
Red queues are a new feature here, a result of a city that's been cut off from the region. Supplies are running low and that has pushed up food prices drastically. Bread now costs twice as much. It's another challenge for a people who've been battered by nature and left feeling hopeless.
It is still early days, but a grim picture of the scale of this disaster is emerging. Many are still unaccounted for. Many are still waiting to be saved, clinging to the hope that someone will find them. Pumza Fihlani, BBC News, Beira.
Across the border in Zimbabwe, the government now says that the death toll from Cyclone Idai stands at 139, with many more still missing. In some of the most inaccessible communities, residents are still searching and unearthing the bodies of their loved ones. The BBC's Shingai Nyoka was in Chimanimani, where rescuers retrieved the body of a child.
In every community that we've passed, we've seen the same thing. Desperate families in search of the missing. In the first place that we reached, we met Eunice, who was looking for his son.
I'm not even sure if anything will come out of this. I didn't want to come back again today, but my heart is sore. I had to come back to look for him.
In another place, we found Denzel, who was looking for his 2 children, and he was looking for them with spades and his bare hands.
I am feeling pain, and I'm about to cry. I'm expecting even to find my kids. Even dead is better, so that I can bury them nicely. My heart is paining, and my eyes are full of tears of anguish. I think so, because I'm crying blood, not tears.
In this part of Chimanimani, you can see the full extent of the devastation, and it stretches for miles. The people here tell me that on Friday night, there was a deadly mixture of rain, wind, and granite boulders that came raining down on their homes and taking away their loved ones. One search party has found the remains of a child, but many more remain buried under the boulders. Now a small road has been opened so that heavy-duty equipment can get into this area. Some of the people say that they want food, they want water, but above all, they want to find the missing. Shingai Nyoka, BBC News, Chimanimani.
And as the impact of this disaster becomes more clear, there's a huge humanitarian effort that is underway here in Maputo, the capital of Mozambique. The community has come together to donate foodstuff, clothing, water, plastic utensils that will be transported up north to Beira. Now, they're sure that they can get a ship to transport the containers containing these donations. But once it gets to Beira, the 4th largest city in this country has been destroyed. They're not sure how those donations are going to be distributed to people who have been cut off by the water. But the effort continues. President Felipe Nyusi and his entire cabinet are in Beira coordinating the humanitarian efforts there. The neighboring countries are responding in support. South Africa sent helicopters, military helicopters to help rescue people. There's an Indian warship that has been rescuing others. I understand Kenyan doctors are on the way tomorrow to come and assist those who need help. The United Kingdom has also sent £18 million worth of aid, and an appeal is being launched tonight for the international community to contribute to this effort.
Ansoy, thank you very much. Our senior Africa correspondent, Ansoy, they're live from Maputo. Well, Malawi has also been devastated by this cyclone. Let's find out what the situation is like there. Joining me on the phone from Blantyre in Malawi is journalist Mercy Malikwa. She joins me on the phone. Mercy, can you tell me the scale of the devastation out there in Malawi?
At the moment in Malawi, we've reported 56 people who've died. 94,000 people have been displaced, and up to 922,000 people have been affected. This is 922,000 people out of the 18 million population of Malawi, which is translating to about 20%. A total of 187 camps have been established, where those that have been displaced are seeking refuge. And as of last week, the president declared areas affected by heavy rains and floods a state of national disaster. And he also called on both local and international organizations to join in providing relief to those affected.
And are we seeing any coordinated help for those people who have been displaced, such as we've seen in Mozambique and Zimbabwe? Are people chipping in? Are people helping these displaced people?
Yeah, there is coordinated efforts across the board. The United States Agency for International Development came in, and the UK's Department for International Development also came in with assistance. So did the United Nations with its agencies such as the WFP, UNICEF, and the UNFPA. And as of yesterday, the Tanzanian government also helped Malawi, and so did the African Union.
And Mercy, I was talking to some of the international aid workers in the region, and they're talking about the risk of disease to those people who have survived this disaster. They're also talking about how to feed these people who have survived. Is that the kind of help that is reaching these people who have been affected? Yeah, because these people have been displaced, the aid which they are looking for mostly is food and shelter, and the assistance that is coming in is in form of food, is in form of medical aid, and those that have been displaced, there are airplanes that are taking them from their areas to hospitals where they are seeking healthy care. Okay, Mercy Malikwa, she's a Malawian journalist speaking to me live there from Blantyre in Malawi. Thank you very much. Let's take a quick look now at other stories making the headlines across Africa and the rest of the world. Renowned South Sudanese civil society activist Peter Biya Ajak has appeared in court in Juba for the first time since being detained last July in connection with alleged treason. His defense team has called his detention illegal, saying their client has been denied proper medication and privacy to consult with them. More than 100,000 people have signed an online petition calling for Mr. Ajak's release. 3 teenage girls in Burundi have been sent to jail to await trial for scribbling on pictures of President Nkurunziza in their school books. Judges said they would be prosecuted for contempt of the head of state. The girls face up to 5 years in prison if found guilty. And the authorities in Zambia have banned an energy drink after it was found to contain the active ingredient in the anti-impotence drug Viagra. Tests showed that the Natural Power Essex energy drink had been adulterated with sildenafil citrate, which is normally only available on prescription in the country. Now, it's still not clear who kidnapped 15 students of the University of Buea in Western Anglophone region of Cameroon. All 15 are also believed to be members of a football team. Kidnappings have become a frequent occurrence in the English-speaking regions where separatist groups have been fighting government troops for a year. Kilian Ngala reports from the capital, Yaoundé.
Well, no one for now knows the whereabouts of the students. No one knows who kidnapped them and why. What we do know for now is that the university students, all belonging to the university football team of Buea, were training ahead of the university games scheduled to take place in April when a group of gunmen swooped into the arena and took them away. The government is yet to make a statement. The university authorities haven't spoken. But what we are hearing rather is that the kidnappers have reached out to some of the parents asking for ransom, 3 million CFA francs per student, and that is way beyond the capacity of impoverished parents to pay. That is about $5,000 US. It is way too high for ordinary parents to pay, especially in the northwest and southwest regions where the economy has been broken by the ongoing conflict in that area. Now, kidnappings have become a new normal in Cameroon today. Just yesterday, a former government minister, so to speak, was taken from his home in the northwest region. And then the day before, a football trainer was also picked up. Kilian Ngala, BBC News, Yaoundé.
This is Focus on Africa from BBC World News with me, Peter Okwache. Still to come, Mimi with the sports, as we catch up with former Ivory Coast international Bonaventure Kalu about his move into politics. I'm Peter Okwache. The top stories this hour. The death toll in Cyclone Idai continues to rise, with nearly 250 people killed in Mozambique alone, and survivors find themselves in desperate conditions. In Zimbabwe, almost 140 people have died and hundreds of thousands are in need of food, shelter and clean water. Ghana is moving to exit the International Monetary Fund program next month. The country struck a deal with the IMF in 2015 for the purpose of stabilizing its troubled economy. So when will Ghana's citizens begin to reap the benefits? Will the government ever use IMF funds to pay wages? What impact will Brexit have in the region? These are all the questions I put to Ghana's Finance and Economy Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta.
I think the issue of government aid wages is something we identified also as a problem when we came. There was wages, there was expenditures, there was revenues, there was interest charges, and there was statutory funds which sort of consumed the market. I think what Africa really is going to need, and that's really a cross-section of the continent, is how do we digitalize so that we can really identify these ghost names which are sometimes on the payroll, to take them out, get more efficient so that we can reduce the size of government, but in that way also make sure that the private sector is thriving. Cost of living is down, cost of going to school is down. We're putting together a mortgage scheme to support housing. So it's actually quite remarkable where we have come from since January.
I think Ghanaians will dispute the fact that cost of living has reduced, because we've seen in the last year that the prices of everything from tomatoes to fuel have risen. The fact that the IMF has now said Ghana can exit its program is scaring some investors away, and they are keeping their funds away from you.
Well, Ghana has successfully concluded a program, and this is what our president had been looking for. Your issue about cost of living with regards to food is not true, because food prices actually did go down last year and are still there. The cost of imports because of port charges was what we are now negotiating.
So if I can just ask you about the B word, Brexit, what's your opinion about what's happening?
Brexit. Peter, it's, I think for us, it is sad. I mean, we have, what do I say? We have about $490 million of imports from Britain, and I think we export somewhere close to $360 million. And therefore, we are really working hard with the sort of Ghana-UK Business Council, our High Commissioner here, also Ankama, and the High Commissioner from London, Ian Walker, really looking to post or non-post Britain exit. I think we would hold faith for Britain wherever it decides to fall, because we have a great relationship.
Do you think people in Ghana are just sitting back and laughing at them and saying, look at them, they want to teach us democracy, but they don't even know what they're doing?
I don't think so. I think really we have gone through our own disequilibrium, and Peter from Nigeria. Yeah. I'm sure you have seen worse, maybe. And so it's no time to gloat, but it's time to sort of take lessons as to where we want to go.
That's Ghana's Economy and Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. You're watching BBC Focus on Africa. It's now time for some sports. Mimi?
Thank you very much, Peter. We begin in athletics, where Kenya's former world and Olympic 1500-meter champion, Asbel Kiprop, has made an appearance at his one-day tribunal hearing in London. The Athletics Integrity Unit said that he had tested positive for the banned blood booster EPO in May last year from samples that were taken in November 2017. His lawyers say they expect a verdict within 21 days. The 28-year-old maintains his innocence. He spoke to BBC Sport.
It's been a very difficult experience, especially the humiliation that has come out with it, and it's kind of hard and difficult 1 year or so, because it's a kind of experience to live like a doba when indeed you're not one, you've never been one.
Moving on to football, the Harambee Stars of Kenya are gearing up for their 2019 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier away against Ghana this weekend. Both sides have already qualified for the tournament, which kicks off in Egypt this summer. But Kenya have been hard at work training ahead of their fixture, with both countries waiting to see who finishes top of the group. Coach Sebastian says it's about the position they are in.
It's not a friendly game, Ghana, but we are already qualified. And I think it was better for Kenyan football to try to be qualified for next round with Olympics. And it will be a good opportunity also for some of them to show their quality. Because with me, maybe Okumu, Ovela will be on the group, maybe not on the field.
And former Ivory Coast international Bonaventure Kalou is one of the latest footballers to go into politics. He's been following in the footsteps of the likes of Liberian President George Weah. BBC Sport Africa's Kimia Shokohi went to his hometown of Vavua, where he's been mayor for the past 6 months, to catch up with him.
There was a defining moment. Sadly, that came with the dismissal of my late father. That was shocking to see the state of the city, because I went there 10 years ago, and with the war and everything that's happened to Ivory Coast, the state of the city was worse than what I was expecting. And yes, I decided right after that moment to try my luck. You never prepare to run in politics. I think it's a decision which comes from the heart. You have to be ready, because in football, you have people to do everything for you. But in politics, you have to do everything for people. That's the difference.
What are your aspirations for not only this post in Vavua, but perhaps for your future political career?
I want to, if tomorrow I'm not, or in 5 years I'm not anymore the mayor of Vavua, I want to leave a legacy, like schools, like infrastructure, because that's the best way to be remembered. And my aspiration for my future in politics, I take things day by day. I don't do any projection. I want to succeed first as a mayor, and then I will see what's happened next. I take always the example of George of Weah. He was the one who opened the gate for me, because in Ivory Coast, in everywhere in Africa, former sportsmen, former soccer players are not taken in serious. But with this example of that George Weah said, like in Liberia, to be president, it shows that we can all be what we want to be.
Bonaventure Kalou speaking to BBC Sport. And finally, Twitter has been buzzing, with many Nigerians reacting positively to the announcement by Italian club AS Roma that it has launched a pidgin language Twitter account. The club said it had done that to improve the connection with fans in Nigeria and neighboring countries. In its first 24 hours after being launched, more than 10,000 people followed it. This was how it made its announcement on their social media page. This was how it made it, as I said earlier on. It went on to say, "We don't show, make una no dolam. Naija, how far now?" That's all the sport. I hope that was okay, my pidgin.
I wish we had the time. I'd ask you to interpret that for me.
I know it.
You know, brilliant stuff. You did very well. And I am a big fan of AS Roma, by the way.
Indeed.
Thank you very much. And don't forget, you can get in touch with me and some of the team. I'm on Twitter @Okoche. But for now, that's it from Focus on Africa. Good evening.